Explain what you mean, Queen Galrota hisses furiously. By related. She's my sister, I answer, shrugging, in the same way that the one below all is my brother. I didn't just fuse with any old soul, I fused with the sapient portal to the universe mana comes from. I release some of that mana from my hand as a demonstration, showing her the annihilation effect. She won't know what that is and she can't use mana sight with knowledge of magic having been removed from her soul, but even in the likely event she assumes it's a spell, she'd know that I shouldn't be able to cast spells without weaving them first. Sure enough, I feel her surprise. Nora and I can communicate via this other dimension. She has been kind and helpful to me, and she considers me family, I continue. I had no reason to not reciprocate. Queen Galrota, I suppose I should start thinking of her as mother, but it's weird for someone I barely know, gives me a stare of utter disbelief. I'm pretty used to people looking at me like that, though, so I don't really care. Yeah, it's always the same. Getting their worldview shattered is definitely one of my favorite emotions to feel in people. Oh, wait, she's actually getting mad. That's not a good sign. Oh, damn it, she is getting mad. What did we do wrong this time? Is the progenitor just tormenting me at this point? Queen Galrota hisses. Is this just a fucking joke to her? Doing this to my own daughter, of all people? What? I ask, tilting my head with surprise. Grandmama had nothing to do with this. She didn't even know Vito existed until she and Malrosa had already been the same person for a couple days. And when she finally found out about the whole Nora thing, she was pretty freaked out. Whoa, that's a lot of emotions. No kidding. She's suspicious, frightened, angry, confused, conflicted. I guess it's a lot to take in at once, especially for an old woman who hasn't really socialized in decades. Who are you, really? Queen Galrota asks. A valid question. Though one we've already answered. Shush, Zoe, elaborations are helpful. I am the memories, emotions, and experiences your daughter had contained with this body's brain, combined with the soul of a lich that was raised as a human on the plentiful wood. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still Malrosa. I'm just also more than that now. I love my sister, Talanika. I love automation crafting, though I haven't had much opportunity to indulge that hobby in a while. And while I don't remember you well, Mother, I'm here because I regret losing those memories and want to make new ones. I am your daughter in every way that matters, and I will continue to be even after I leave this flesh. She stares at us, and for a moment my heart seizes in fear of rejection. Even though I barely know her, even though I'm used to being demonized and shunned and hated by nearly everyone I meet, the terror over this stupid little thing takes hold of me. But ultimately, Queen Galrota's eyes signal assent. No. My mother's eyes do. All right, she says. I believe you, Malrosa. And I love you, no matter what. It's just. Do you understand how evil Nora is? I think I have a pretty good idea, I shrug. But also, Liriope tried to genocide the island the non-Malrosa half of me comes from, and if I can forgive that, then I can forgive Nora for creating the tools of that genocide in the first place. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not thrilled about the fact that she's a terrible person, but what exactly is anybody supposed to do about it? She's substantially more powerful than the progenitor. Why wouldn't Grandmama negotiate peace? Is that all that matters to you? She asks. Power? I sigh, absent-mindedly scratching my chest seat. I didn't really want to get into an argument today. What matters to me right now is that I'm getting to see my mom again, I tell her. Honestly, I'd just rather shelve the whole thing about Big Sis. I've had a really long and terrible couple of years and I'm looking forward to just being able to relax for a while. Is that okay? Or are you going to have to focus on this conversation? There's a lot of other things we can talk about instead. She seems bitter about that, but I get the impression that she's a pretty bitter person. Still, she ultimately assents. Of course, Malrosa, she answers. How about you tell me of these new memories of yours? I nod and get started. Honestly, this is a huge part of why I love Liriope so much. They get it. My fellow queens have been experimenting with animancy for longer than Vulca has even existed. When I explain that I've fused my soul with an immortal lich, not everybody likes that. But everybody understands, and nobody is out for my head over it. I'm still Malrosa, even just in part, and that's what matters to them because they've seen this song and dance before enough times to respect the personhood of those who change. It's a shame they don't really respect the personhood of other species, but I'll take what I can get. Our standards are extremely low. To my mother's credit, she is disgusted at the appropriate parts of my story. She does actually seem to care that Skyhope is a cesspool of exploitation and hunger, despite the fact that it doesn't concern Liriope. She even stops calling the humans savages when I ask her not to. I suppose being locked up in here by the progenitor for so long gives a person plenty of time to introspect, and I suppose Mother wouldn't care about Nora in the first place if she didn't care about evil things done to people of other cultures. Considering the genocides Liriope gets up to, though, Nora seems like a weird hill to die on. Why protest her so vehemently when there are so many other problems much closer to home? It seems weird to me, but I was the one who said I didn't want to argue about it, so I leave it be. I depart a few hours later, glad that we talked. My family is getting comically large, but that family is important to me. From the moment I first thought of Lynn as my mom, the moment I first trusted her with everything she'd already said and proved she would do for me, family became essential to me. I want to be able to support my family and give them everything they need, and I'm powerful enough to do that for a lot of people at once. I guess that's pretty much my life goal, when I think about it. Feels weird to acknowledge that. I fly towards where I feel Tola's soul, which turns out to just be her house. Her servants let me in and it doesn't take long for her to be running down the hallway towards me. Mal Mal. She cheers, crashing into me for a hug. Tal? Zoe? Sorry, I should have asked. I don't actually know who I am right now, so it's fine, I assure her. I guess I'm just sort of a Malrosa stew. It doesn't really matter anyway, both of us like it when you call us Mal Mal. Okay, Tala says. Does this mean you're merging again? No, this just happens sometimes, I shrug. We'll stop being a stew pretty soon, probably. Okay, Tala agrees. How'd things go with Mum? A lot better than I was afraid of, I report. We talked a bit about Nora. Turns out Mother was really mad about something she did. We mostly just talked about everything that happened to me, though. Yeah, that'd certainly take a few hours, Tala laughs. Well, what do you want to do now? I'm not sure, I admit. Actually, would you be offended if I just went home and tinkered? I know I just got here, but I'm gonna have to be social all day tomorrow with Penelope showing up, and, you know. She pouts a little, which is a pretty complicated expression on an Athanatos, but it twists into acquiescence soon afterwards. Yeah, okay, Tala confirms. I know how you are, Mal Mal. It's almost reassuring to see that you're still a complete recluse. I chuckle, shrugging awkwardly. Can you believe my social skills got worse when I merged with Vita? Not if I hadn't seen it firsthand, she jabs. All right, get out of here. But be prepared for me following you and your girlfriend around all day, tomorrow. Or, Tala. All day? What if we wanna go on a date? You're not going to have any time for that tomorrow and you know it, she smirks. You're going to be stuck introducing the human progenitor to everyone you lock eyes with. I tilt my head in confusion. The what? Oh, gosh, wait. Penelope is a dramatically altered, biologically superior human who intends to bring immortality to the human race and will probably end up ruling it in some capacity. Which is pretty much what the progenitor did with us. Do you think people will like her more or less if we introduce her that way? I ask. You definitely don't want to call her that, Mal Mal, Tala says firmly. Everybody will be thinking it, but don't say it out loud. Gotcha, I nod. I mean, no, I don't gotcha. I don't get why we shouldn't say something everyone is thinking, but I'll trust you and just not do it. She laughs and gives me one more squeeze. Thank you. I look forward to meeting her. Now go de-stress, Mal Mal. I give her 8 thumbs up. Will do. I agree cheerfully. It doesn't take long for me to walk home, where my own servants are waiting and overjoyed to see me. Everything is set up in case I might want to partake, food, bath, massage, and everything in between. It's so good to be home. Of course, I ignore all of that and go to my workshop, which has very dutifully been dusted and cleaned but not organized, just the way I like it. I'm very clearly tired now as I take a deep breath, basking in the familiarity of my silly little mechanical toy room. I love this shit, and I don't really know why. It's always been calming to assemble and disassemble things, messing with the minutiae of gears and axles and funky bits of engineering to make useless do-nothings. When I was in Liriope last time, I was too busy to work on much in this room other than my armor, and back on Verdantop I don't really have the materials to make any of this stuff, not unless I wanna try making it from wood and chitin. Which? I mean, I guess I could do that, but it's less fun if they aren't enchanted to keep moving on their own. Still could be pretty fun, though. Maybe I'll do that. Anyway, my point is that I've missed this. On a whim I start putting together a simple gearbox that'll periodically reverse the direction of the axle it drives, and the next thing I know it's the middle of the night and I have the half-assembled skeleton of a toy bird figurine that'll rotate its head back and forth. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. I don't really make them for a reason other than the fact that I like making them. Maybe I'll start giving them away as gifts? I'll have to avoid using metal, but that's doable. Lark might like the bird one. Her name is a bird, so it makes sense. I barely managed to extract myself from my workshop and curl up into my bed. Holy shit, I forgot how comfy this bed is, before falling asleep. It takes me a little while to get my bearings when I wake up, but it doesn't take long for me to jump to my feet and giddily fly to the teleport platform. A quick order from me is all it takes to get authorization and connection to Verdantop, and moments later I'm hugging my big, wonderful dragon. You made it, Penelope. Of course I made it, she grumbles. You, on the other hand, were late. An hour after first light, you said. I might have slept in a little, I admit sheepishly. Maybe. You know, just as a completely unrelated question. What time is it? You are 3.5 hours late, darling, Penelope answers blithely. But I more or less expected that, so I suppose I can forgive you. She gives me a small smile, and I pull back from the hug to actually take a moment and see how she's doing. Her scales are mostly grey with a few swirling patches of blue dancing around, and that basic emotional state, mostly depressed but with sparks of joy here and there, is reflected clearly in her soul. As I was afraid of, she's still not doing great, but Penelope is a noble through and through and won't tolerate more than a day's delay on this. She'll push forward and get things done. All right, I tell her, nodding. Let's get going, then. Our first stop should probably be Grandmama. Is there any special title I should be calling her other than the progenitor, as a dignitary from a foreign state? Penelope asks. Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't think so. I hedge. Just be unfailingly polite and it should go mostly fine. She nods. I can do that. We exit the teleportation building, Penelope looking around the basic tunnel with a curious frown. Other than the magical lighting there's not really anything of note here. It's just a simple rock tunnel, large enough that Penelope doesn't have to stoop but completely unadorned, designed only for transporting goods to and from the teleportation platforms. We're not in Liriope proper yet. I smugly watch my girlfriend's expression morph to shock as the tunnel finally opens up into the capital city and the majesty of my home becomes apparent. God's avarice burns at the top of the massive cavern, the lush greenery and beautifully crafted walkways branching out to every corner of the city. Much like To Kill's work on Mimas, every building and every street is expertly planned for both function and form, the ease of navigation though the city rivaled only by the beauty of the walk. Why is there so much green? Penelope asks. Huh? I manage. Green. It's a terrible color. Besides, isn't it dangerous having so much soil around? Oh, right. The people of Verdantop kind of have a vendetta against forests. It's safe, none of the plants here grow even a single percentage as quickly as Verdantop plants, I explain. Most cultures find plants quite relaxing and beautiful. I see, Penelope says flatly. How do you all not suffocate with all that fire burning at the top of the cavern? God's avarice isn't really fire, it just looks like a giant ball of weird liquidy fire for some reason. I'm not actually sure how it works, we're mostly just told to never fly too close to it. Well, that just makes me more curious, Penelope mutters, her massive tail flicking back and forth behind her. Yeah, maybe we can ask someone about that, I hedge. Are you ready to go see the progenitor? Ready as I'll ever be, I suppose. Do you want to walk or fly? Penelope thinks on that for a moment, glancing around. Walk, I think, she decides. Seeing things from the air is always far more awe-inspiring after one has first explored them from the ground. The perspective is humbling. What, and my awesome magical hometown with no hunger or poverty isn't? Bah. I take her on a scenic tour anyway, earning us a fuckton of curious stares from the workers on the streets. I can hardly blame them, of course, since Penelope is quite the uniquely beautiful sight. Today she's wearing a short blue skirt with tight leggings underneath, leaving her talon feet bare. Her top is a duller grey, which, yes, means she literally matched her clothing to her mood, and has a low-cut front that shows off her breasts to precisely nobody that cares. We're all chitinous bug people, so the shape of her chest is a confusing curiosity at most. Not sure what she was going for there. We don't run into any queens on our way to the progenitor's home, which is pretty normal since there aren't a lot of us. Still, it's relieving. While the workers are confused, they see Penelope with me and therefore have nary a negative thought about her presence. A princess is escorting her, therefore she belongs here. Easy. It's a good palate cleanser for the xenophobia to come. I request an audience with the progenitor when we arrive at our destination, and we only have to wait outside for about 10 minutes before we get permission to enter. I've told Penelope what to expect inside, but she's still suitably impressed by the artistry on display, from the magical weaves on the walls to the masterful mosaic on the ceiling. The progenitor herself is sitting on her usual throne when we arrive in the audience chamber, and while she's probably about an inch taller than when last I saw her, she's still minuscule and adorable. Penelope keeps a careful look on her expression, but I can see in her soul that she, too, wants to pick up the fluffy little god queen and squish her adorable little fuzzy body to bits, and since this is Penelope we're talking about, that visceral description almost certainly isn't a metaphor. Dang it, Penelope, don't fantasize about killing my great-great-grandmother. She might notice. Fortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. The progenitor barely even looks at my girlfriend before focusing on me, delight blooming in her eyes. Welcome home, Malrosa, she says. It's good to be back, Grandmama, I answer her. She chuckles. I don't let people call me that once they get to a certain age, she warns, but I suppose you have gotten younger recently. It is the duty of the eldest to spoil the youngest, I agree sagely, and she barks out a quick laugh before her expression becomes serious. So, I heard the reports regarding supply intake yesterday, she says. Good work. Thank you, progenitor, I answer, because she's very much the progenitor right now more than she's my grandmama. Let's talk about your methods, however, the progenitor continues. It's important that these intakes are stable, and I know you're not using workers for labor. I'd like you to outline your methodology and your estimates as to the sustainability thereof. Yes, progenitor, I report. I'll start with sustainability, as I believe that to be the most salient issue myself. Both food and lumber are plentiful, and they restore themselves faster than we can remove them as long as there is enough water. However, because Verdantop's stores of water are underground, we don't currently have the ability to properly survey the exact amount available, and based on average rainfall it's very possible that we're draining the aquifers. I'd like to request a worker team. And so it goes. We talk about Verdantop for nearly 2 hours, mostly in regards to how I'm handling the local populace and ensuring a reliable intake of the resources Liriope needs, though there's the occasional more personal question mixed in here and there about how I'm doing. Most notably, of course, is the fact that the progenitor does not so much as look at Penelope throughout all of this. It's a very deliberate snub, and clearly a test, but not even a peek into her emotions gives me any hints on what exactly she's testing. Penelope, for her part, stays patient and silent the entire time, seeming almost comfortable with the situation, or at least very experienced at dealing with this sort of thing. The way her mind churns with social calculations indicates that she certainly isn't bored. Quite the opposite, in fact. She's plotting, and something about that makes her nostalgic enough to start turning more of her grey into blue. Only after we've finally exhausted every possible minutiae about island material management does the progenitor finally focus her eyes on the non-Athanatos in the room. By the by, I appreciate that you've chosen someone with actual patience to help temper you, Malrosa, she says blandly. Oh, haha, I chuckle awkwardly. Because what else can you do when the god queen of your civilization disses you with a backhanded compliment about your girlfriend? Penelope is a woman of many talents, for sure. Yes, with a soul like hers I assumed she'd be a lot more unstable, the progenitor continues. Thankfully, I can see that she has some measure of basic temperance, so I suppose we can discuss the dragon in the room, so to speak. Introduce yourself if you're able, girl. Penelope bows her head in a manner that would be polite for a human but means relatively little to an Athanatos. But she knows that, so it's probably purposeful. I am Penelope Vesuvius, leader of Mimas and former First Lady of Vulca, she says in Liriope's language, her accent near perfect. I care not for your meaningless titles, the progenitor dismisses. I see Malrosa has taught you to speak, at least. No, Athanatos progenitor, Penelope answers, her head still bowed. Malrosa is quite possibly the worst teacher I've ever had the misfortune to request information from. A soldier by the name of To Kill from Above was my instructor, given the task after a few failed attempts at comprehensibility from your great-great-granddaughter. Ah. Wow. Rude. Grandmama actually laughs at that, too. Super rude. Patience, confidence, and even wit. The progenitor chuckles. My. I suppose I've met worse upstart children playing with eternity before. You're the one who wiped out the lower levels with a plague, aren't you? You'll share every last thing you know about the exploits you found in worker and soldier biology. Of course, progenitor, Penelope responds easily. Would you prefer the report verbally or in writing? Writing, the progenitor answers, her eyes giving the slightest smile. Now then, child. What happened to that mess of a soul you have? A series of unfortunate circumstances, overestimations, and mistakes, Penelope answers simply, standing up straight. The short of it is that I was captured by a hostile Pneuma mage and had to circumvent their alterations in order to kill them. I'm still recovering from the consequences, spiritually and mentally, but we determined it would be wise to take things slow until we could get input from someone more experienced. I see, the progenitor hums. And is that why you are here? No, Penelope answers, shaking her head. I am certainly not opposed to receiving the wisdom of your people, if any deign to offer it, but I am here because I love your great-great-granddaughter, and she wished for me to see her home. No more, and no less. The progenitor leans forwards, resting her chin on a fist. You are a skilled manipulator for someone so young, she says. Thank you, Athanatos progenitor, Penelope says, smiling genuinely. I am honored you would think so. You have my blessing to stay in Liriope, the progenitor decrees. Though I expect your written report at least a day before you depart. Speaking of departing, I butt in hesitantly, earning me a mild glower from the progenitor but not a demand to stop. Nora requested my presence on her island and told me that you would know how to get there. Confusion. Frustration. Even a hint of fear. The progenitor's reaction to hearing that is less than heartening, to be sure. I see, she mutters. To her island, she said? Why? She just wants to meet in person, I shrugged non-committally. Well, it's true that she treats you with an unusual amount of affection, the progenitor muses. It will probably be safe. You get along with her, yes? More or less, yeah, I confirm. She can be a bit creepy, but she's nice. Nice, you say, the progenitor sighs. Well, if nothing else, this trip should disabuse you of that notion. You be very, very careful with her, you understand, Malrosa? Stay on your best behavior. Yes, Grandmama. All right, I'll arrange passage. When did you need to arrive? I was hoping to stay here for 10 days or so with Penelope, then bring some of my other friends along to go see her, I guess? I suppose that's doable, the progenitor nods. How many friends? Are they mortal? It's probably best to leave the mortals at home. I glance at Penelope, and she shrugs. Lark, in her traditional self-destructive fashion, did want to come. Elisaveta will likely feel the need to accompany her. Is Lark mortal? I ask. Penelope blinks. That's a good question, actually. I'm not sure. Grandmama, are Vrathitsu immortal? She seems just as surprised by the question as Penelope was. I assume so. She hedges. Clear ones are, and there's no reason Vrathitsu wouldn't be. Is Noro going to kill any mortals we bring or something? Probably not, she keeps plenty of her own, the progenitor answers. They're just going to be rather distressed by the experience, I feel. Jaleesa will be right at home then. I nod. All right, so there will be 4 of us, probably. Zoe, we've talked about this, Penelope sighs. It's not okay to torment someone just because they're used to it. Or, she guessed my identity right. It's sort of obvious when you say things like that, you know. It's not like I'm going to force Jaleesa to come. I protest to Tal and Penelope at the same time. Okay, run along you two, you can bicker at home, the progenitor dismisses affectionately. Enjoy your stay, Penelope. Thank you, a Thanatos progenitor, Penelope bows, and we depart together, staying silent until we're well outside the progenitor's home and down the street. You okay? I ask when we're several times out of earshot. Of course I'm okay, Penelope shrugs. Older people always think they're better than people our age. It's a simple matter to feed their ego on the matter, make them feel respected, and earn their appreciation by establishing yourself as a useful lesser who knows their place. It, sounded like she knew you were doing that, though? I hedge. Isn't that bad? Of course not, Penelope insists. A manipulator wants to be manipulated. It's how they see all social interaction in the first place. And even if she isn't like that, the beautiful thing about appealing to someone's ego is that it tends to work even if they know you're doing it. I grunt. I honestly don't think I'll ever understand this stuff. Well, that's what you have me for, darling, Penelope answers, leaning down to kiss me on the top of the head. Malrosa, what is that and why are you letting it touch you? Who the actual fuck? I turn to face the voice, looking at a queen I honestly do not recognize. I guess I don't recognize most of us anymore, though. She's about my height, with a similar build too, and I kind of like her skirt. It's a nice, sparkly purple. I hate her soul, though. The memory core smells like burnt grease. Honestly, I'd heard you'd let a savage get the better of you, but I didn't think you'd go native, she continues. Wow. I wonder if the progenitor would forgive me for killing her? I guess probably not. What is happening? I ask Penelope. Well, I think we're getting bullied. She hedges. She's not doing a very good job of it, though. I'm sorry, you've probably heard that I've been having memory troubles, I say, turning back to the queen. Who are you, again? She scoffs. I can't believe you've forgotten me, Malrosa. I'm Queen Zalrenza. Remember? We were princesses together, 3 decades ago. Huh? Okay. That kind of rings a bell. She's the bitch that was always mocking us about dating Baraga. Oh yeah. Geez, I could have gone without remembering her, honestly. Right, yeah, Zalrenza, I say, signaling understanding. Velp, I don't like you, so I'm going to leave now. Bye. I wave and turn around as Penelope starts laughing beside me, following my lead. The shock and bafflement radiating behind me are pretty amusing, but like, what the fuck did she expect me to say to that? People are so weird. She sputters something indignant at me but I ignore her, just opting to walk away. If I can't kill her, there's nothing else I want to do with the woman. We're really supposed to be getting better about this whole murdering thing. Okay, yes, you're right, but... I stop as a hand touches my shoulder. Zalrenza's hand touches my shoulder. I think I've really gotten a lot better about the whole being touched thing, overall. I give and receive a lot of hugs and cuddles these days, after all, but it's always with someone I like, someone I trust. Not this stuck-up xenophobic little bitch. I said, don't just walk away from me, you stupid child. Zalrenza snaps, still not letting go of me. You don't have to be so rude, I'm just worried about you. It was one thing watching you indulge that clear one, but this? Come on, Malrosa, this isn't even a person. It'd be one thing if you were into that, but we both know you prefer to be ordered around. Ooh, you're going to regret that, Penelope comments, though she doesn't say it like it's a threat. She says it like she's excited. You be silent, Zalrenza snaps at her. How dare you speak to me? There's a sickening crack as part of the chitin on my chest breaks open, a blue light spilling out for a moment before I cover it up and start to repair the damage. Nope, 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 nope. Can't do that yet. We're not ready. I take a deep breath, focusing on that disgusting sensation instead of the one on my shoulder for a while. I need to destroy this woman, but I'm not actually allowed to hurt her. This is way outside my area of expertise. Is there some way I'd just be allowed to kick her ass, or? Ask. Right. There is something. Wanna play hoop ball? I hiss, my tendrils uncurling. What? She asks. You seem insistent on hanging out, I growl. And you don't seem to think my choice in partner is up to your standards. So let's have a match. Me, Penelope, and Tyler versus you and our old teachers. I need to introduce her to them anyway. You want me to team up with Queen Venatila and Queen Nagatilka? To play you in hoop ball? Really? We used to play, didn't we? I ask. You still like it? I'm just surprised you're so eager to get beaten, Zalrenza sneers. Fine. I can go ask and see if they're interested in your little challenge. It seems rather unfair for 3 queens to go up against 2 princesses and a pet, though. I'm going to fucking eat her. We are not going to eat her. We're just going to make her suffer. Uck. Fine. We'll be at the courts in an hour, I growl, and then smack her hand off of me as lightly as I can convince myself to. Which, unfortunately, isn't actually enough to hurt her. See you then, I suppose, Queen Zalrenza says dismissively, finally turning to leave. It'll be cathartic. I certainly hope so. Penelope and I watch her saunter off as I finally remove my hand from my chest, the chitin back in one piece like it's supposed to be. Sorry about that, I mutter to her. You okay? Oh, yes, I'm fine, Penelope nods. That sort of thing will probably get old as the days go on, but right now I am mostly just mildly bemused. Sort of a novel experience, really. Some things cross cultures, I suppose. Incidentally, what's hoop ball? A full contact sport. Her scales go full blue, with just a little hint of purple. Purple can sometimes be dangerous, but I don't really mind, given the circumstances. Oh, watch her below, I'm going to get to choke her, Penelope rumbles. I love you so fucking much. Well, the game doesn't sound too difficult, Penelope muses, rubbing her chin. Rather straightforward rules, really. Yeah, you're not actually supposed to hurt people, though, so make sure to retain plausible deniability or things could get bad. Vita, please, Penelope scoffs with false offense. I am the veritable goddess of plausible deniability. You know I've studied you intimately enough to be aware of exactly what sort of damage your species can take. I do know, yes. Pain isn't really a huge deal to me, but when Penelope gets in a mood she finds ways to make me feel it. Honestly though, while I doubt I'll ever enjoy being tortured, I do enjoy making her happy enough that it's a worthwhile trade to me. It's not like we can't easily heal off whatever damage she does, too. Just be careful, I warn her. We're queens, and you're an outsider. Cause too much damage and some of us will be out for your blood. No one can complain if it's not permanent, right? Penelope clarifies. Oh, they'll complain. But they won't be able to reasonably do anything, no. Perfect, she grins. Ah, this is going to be a lovely first day. Well, at least she's not depressed anymore. Her tail is even doing that thing where it flicks back and forth with excitement, also known as the do not walk behind Penelope mood. I'd ask you not to be creepy in front of my sister, but she's pretty used to me dating weirdos, so it'll probably be fine, I sigh. Just, be nice to her. Of course. Penelope promises. She's your sister, you care about her, I understand. The fact that she tried to kill us all is water under the bridge. I also tried to do that, I remind her. It was me, Tala, and Queen Nagatilka. Yes, I'm aware. I was being serious. Then why does your soul feel so predatory? Whatever. I'm sure it'll be fine. We should definitely keep a close eye on her, though. Just in case. I'm not stupid, Zoe. Of course I'm going to keep an eye on her. At the very least because she's cute and I like looking at her. Not quite what I meant, but yeah, true. That's so weird to me, though. Vita had stopped looking at people basically at all. We even forgot how facial expressions worked for a while. Now we're looking at Penelope and finally understanding why people call it feeling warm and fuzzy, but it's kind of incongruous. We're a lot more physically minded than we used to be. Let's be honest, we regressed. Swapping bodies and mind melding with 2 different people helped us unregress. We're better like this. Begrudgingly, I have to agree. Which makes me worried about slipping again. Me too. That's why we're designing our next body to be better still, and we also have Penelope again. She can be our anchor. Boy, that's not concerning at all. Yeah, okay, we should get more of those. Like Tala. And speaking of Tala, we're almost at her house, so we should probably stop chatting with each other and focus on how we're going to rope her into another hoopball game against queens. We can promise not to shed the trappings of our current shell and emerge in all our tentacular glory this time. That should make her feel better. Okay, first of all, no it wouldn't. Second of all, can we actually, honestly promise that? I mean, the hoopball game would have to go super crazy for us to actually hatch out of Malrose's body. I wait and give Zoe a moment to really think hard about that one, though the nature of what we are means she's already fully aware of why because I'm fully aware of why. Still, though, this will only go wrong if things get super crazy basically means it's guaranteed to happen. I mean, no, we really need this body still and we'll actually fight to keep it, but I see your point. I'll think of something else to tell her. Oh, and now I am captaining the ship I guess. Being more than one person is weird. It's nothing like how Penta and I shared a body all those years ago. Tal and I are different people but we're not separate people, if that makes any sense. A singular train of consciousness exists between us, and not even we're fully in control of who's in charge at any given moment. It also doesn't really matter who's in charge, in a lot of ways. Tyler's better at some things and I'm better at other things, but it's really more in regards to how we apply our skills than in any actual difference in knowledge or ability. Our personalities are more similar than they are different, yet there's still enough of a distinct difference between us that we very much feel like separate people. It's weird and ephemeral and supremely difficult to talk about with basically anyone other than Aldrich or a clear one, and even they don't quite get it. Only one of us can really consciously think at a time, but I just sort of know who that is, because the thoughts either feel like they're from Zoe, or they feel like they're from Tile. We really don't know any better way of describing it. It's not important right now, though. Penelope and I arrive at Tola's house and being with her is what matters. I'm not sure I'll ever get used to how fancy the house is here in Lyriopia, even considering how I have my own. It's just too surreal. We announce ourselves to one of Tola's servants, and it's not even a minute after that when she rushes outside and tackles me with a huge, four-armed hug. I squeeze her right back, using my tentacles to hug her soul as well, causing her to squirm and yelp like I just cast an ice spell on the back of her neck. No. Mal, quit it. She whines. I drop her, my eyes smug. Good to see you, sis, I greet her. Penelope, this is Princess Talanica, my beloved sister. Tala, this is Penelope. It's so lovely to meet you in happier circumstances, Penelope says diplomatically, extending a hand in greeting. Why yeah, Tala agrees, a bit breathless as she cranes her neck to stare up at Penelope's face. Gosh, you're tall. Were you always this tall? Oh, shoot, I mean, hi. Hello. Miss Penelope, Mom. Are you giving me that hand? Can I touch it? Penelope blinks. She likes dragons, I explain quietly. I'm superior to a dragon, Penelope answers automatically, seeming somewhat startled. Boy are you. Tala agrees, deciding that a lack of protest is the same as permission and grabbing Penelope's hand in three of her own, squeezing and prodding. Gosh, I'm really glad we didn't kill you that one time. Sorry about that by the way. I was super surprised when you countered our armored defenses. How did you even do that? I didn't see you cast. I designed my tail to maximize available area for fine motor manipulation, Penelope answers carefully, letting Tola's pokes and prods start making their way up her arm. And also to crush human skulls. That's so cool. Tala laughs. Are you immortal yet? She's mine, Tala, I remind my sister. You can't have her. This feels sort of like when I first met Xena and I'm not sure how I feel about that, Penelope mumbles. Gosh, these really are dragon scales, aren't they? Tala coos. It's like a softer version of our ceremonial armors. The plentiful wood has a bunch of dragons living there, doesn't it? We're not quite sure how many, but yes, they are native to the deeper parts of the forest, Penelope confirms. And my scales are indeed based off of them, due to their heat-resistant properties. I can't believe you made this whole body by yourself, Tala gushes. It's so impressive. Do you think I should study more life arts, Mal? I think you're a dork and you can do anything you set your mind to, I tell her. But I'm not sure you'd actually have the attention span to do what Penelope did to herself. Oh, progenitor, yeah, I bet this took years, Tala sighs. A month, actually, Penelope answers. Though it was a month during which I literally did nothing else, bar eating and drinking and so forth. I didn't even move. What? Oh gosh, Tala gapes. What about going to the bathroom? Motion arts, Penelope answers. And someone to clean my room for me. Geez, that sounds disgusting, Tala shudders. Yeah, I don't think I could even do that for a day. I'd get so bored, not to mention grossed out. How did you manage? Well, she didn't really manage, per se. She's extremely traumatized about it. Even having the subject brought up brings an ache to her soul, one I can't help but sympathize with. It was a troubled period of my life, Penelope answers tactfully. I doubt I'll ever subject myself to something similar again. Oh, okay, Tala says. There's an awkward pause. May I touch your tail? Feel free, Tala. May I call you Tala? Of course. Whoa, gosh, these things are squirmy. Penelope smirks as Tala runs her hands through the many tiny tendrils on her tail. My big cuddly dragon glances my way and I shrug, smiling back with my eyes. My sister likes to make fun of me for being weird and obsessing over things, but she's really no better. It's part of why we get along so well. Anyway, Tala, I was wondering if you wanted to play hoop ball with us, I ask, changing the subject. I was gonna teach Penelope how to play. Ooh, that sounds fun. Tala agrees. Should we get a fourth player, too? Nah, I already convinced Queens Alrenza to Nabnaga and Queen Venatila to play with us. My sister pauses at that, giving me a hesitant look. Ah, by with us, do you actually by any chance mean against us? Because the first time was a lot, and I'm not really sure. Quick, Penelope. I shout. Grab her. My girlfriend rolls her eyes and dutifully wraps my sister up in her tail, eliciting a betrayed yelp as the massive appendage curls around Tala and holds her tight, the tendrils wrapping around and locking down every finger. Mew ha ha ha, I chuckle, floating up into the air to better lord my victory over my sister. You have fallen into my trap, Tala. My devious, sports-based trap. No, Malmal. My defeated kin whines. They're going to destroy us. You can't catch them off guard this time. And did you seriously have to invite Zalrenza? She's going to hate Penelope so much. That's why we challenged her to hoop ball. I declare proudly. So we can beat the shit out of her and get away with it. It's the perfect plan. Progenitor, help me. Tala complains. Don't worry about it overmuch, Tala, Penelope reassures my sister, her tendrils tickling the poor girl all over. Our goal is honestly just to have fun. We won't hurt her that much. That's not what I'm worried about. Tala insists, squirming indignantly. Sure, Mal and I caught some queens off guard last time, but now there's going to be 3 of them, and they'll know what she can do. And no offense Miss Penelope, but you and your Vrithitsa barely got me last time. They're a million times scarier than I am. Well, that's not so worrisome, then, Penelope grins, showing off her rows of sharp teeth. After all, what's a million times 0? Mal. Come on, I know your girlfriend is basically the queen of the plentiful wood, but up here? We're gonna get destroyed and you know it. I float over next to her and sit down on the part of Penelope's tail that has her wrapped up. I put one arm around her shoulder, and rub the space between her antennae with another. Give me a chance to prove you wrong, I say. Penelope and I haven't been sitting idle, you know. I've been teaching her everything I know. And I got personally trained by the progenitor, remember? She squirms a bit, but it's rather half-hearted compared to before. I didn't, she mumbles. I'm just a wimpy little princess. No goddess mana, no dragon scales, no progenitor training. Even if you two can take on 3 queens at once, I'll just be dead weight. Penelope and I glance at one another. I shrug slightly, ceding her the initiative. Making people feel better is not my forte. Penelope nods, thinking for a moment before she speaks. If this were any context other than your sister and I attempting to coerce you into playing a game for fun, I would tell you to get over yourself, Penelope says flatly. Which, doesn't make Tala feel better at all. You are not a queen, I'll grant you, but you are still a princess of Liriope, and it is somewhat infuriating that you don't have a grasp on how privileged or how powerful that makes you. Uck. Is this another be happy you have food at all lecture? Tala grumbles. Which? Hey. I haven't given that lecture that often. Not this time, Penelope smirks. Unlike Vita, I've never wanted for comfort or power. I just want to remind you that you have power, far more power than you think you do. In fact, you have so much power that you've never had to learn how to fight for it. This moping is beneath you, Princess Talanica. You are a daughter of Liriope, and the bag of tricks you were born with is far wider and far deeper than most any from my island will ever dream of. You can face your so-called superiors. And with our help, you can beat them. Yeah, that's my point, Tala insists. I need your help because I can't do it, only Mal can. Sure, you need us. What makes you think that we don't need you? Penelope asks, successfully not remarking on how she could totally kick a queen's ass without my help because she's a self-made plague dragon whose name makes nations tremble. Though she definitely wants to. Manipulation involves a lot of, not lies, exactly, but carefully unrevealed truths. I can see how some of the things Penelope does match with the lessons I've been taught and the limited set of conversational techniques I've actually internalized on my own, and it's kind of fascinating watching it all play out. Tala feels insecure, afraid of failure. Which is weird, because none of her failures have any actual consequences, but Jalisa says I should judge people for their feelings less, so whatever. I love her and I care about her, and if that means not getting incredulous over how non-existent her problems are, so be it. Tala quickly gets calmed down, or at least very, very distracted, thanks to Penelope's constant attention, and soon enough she has agreed to accompany us on our hoopball adventure. To the courts. The hoopball playing fields aren't too far off, so we walk rather than fly, Penelope finally dropping Tala from her tail. Much to the little weirdo's regret. Which I can totally understand. Penelope tail cuddles are wonderful. Getting wrapped up all warm and safe. Ah, gosh, I just love her so much. I snake a tendril out of my soul and poke her hand until she grabs on and gives me a little squeeze. Arm in tendril, we walk happily together down the half-familiar streets of my half-hometown until we reach our destination. Queen Zalrenza, Queen Nagatilka, and Queen Venetila are all waiting for us when we get there, which is surprisingly fast. I suppose Naga doesn't really have much to do anymore. Her main productive hobby was training Tala, and Venetila, I think, just really fucking likes hoopball. She lets out a quick series of quick clicks as we approach, which is pretty much the Athanatos equivalent to a low whistle. You found yourself a big one, Malrosa, Queen Venetila says. If I'm being honest, she found me, I dismiss lightly. She originally got together with Vita, and I was a pretty passive partner back then. Yes, I remember this one, Naga says, her eyes frowning. It was with the other savages we fought on the surface of the plentiful wood. Penelope's smile gets thinner, not that any of them can read her expression. The other savages including me, you mean? I press her. Since, you know, I was fighting on both sides of that battle. What does that even mean, Malrosa? Queen Zalrenza sneers. I sigh, ignoring her for now as Naga continues. Your situation is different, Malrosa, she insists. I'm just struck by the odd experience of seeing someone I met on the field of battle in more copacetic circumstances. The things I'd try to kill don't normally play hoopball with me. I feel the same way, Penelope agrees. Though I have to admit, I'm quite anticipating the opportunity for a rematch, however diminished the stakes. The room goes silent as the non-Athanatos in the room speaks without being spoken to. Roughhousing with Tala is one thing. She's my sister and we're both quirky little princesses that have acclimated to the idea that other species are capable of being our equals. Penelope speaking out of turn in front of queens, though? There's a reason they've been talking about her like she's barely even here. Judging by their emotions, think Venetila and Naga are surprised she even can talk. I say nothing, though. I don't defend Penelope, even though I want to. After all, I can read her emotions too, and I can tell that she's making a calculated play. Is that so? Naga says flatly, her eyes narrowing into a stern expression. I suppose I do regret not trouncing you the moment the battle started. It would have avoided a lot of our current troubles, I feel. I can't help it. I flinch, slightly. Really, Naga? Is that what you think I am? Your current troubles? Oi, Naga. Venetila mutters chastisingly, though her partner ignores her. Penelope just smirks, rolling her shoulders and unfurling her gigantic wings as she lifts her tail off the ground. She has to lean forward a bit, counterbalancing one giant, inhuman feature against the other to prevent herself from falling, and the combination of the pose with her sharp-toothed grin is so delightfully feral that I get an urge from Tal to jump on her and start hugging her with all my strength. You missed your chance, I'm afraid, Penelope taunts. You'll find I'm not so easy to trounce the second time around. Impertinent little savage, Zalrenza scoffs, and the restraint I've been showing so far snaps thin. My tendrils start to unfurl, extending invisibly from my body and questing towards the targets of my ire. I've been paying a lot more conscious attention to them lately, not letting them search around on their own and scoop up lesser souls on instinct. I've been increasing in strength, and my tendrils have been looking for proportionally larger meals, moving up from insects to mice and other small animals, and I didn't want to start having birds fall dead out of nearby trees whenever I walk around the forest. Besides, I'm changing myself. Outgrowing the need for differentiating myself from my body in the first place. I really have no excuse to not be paying attention to what my own tendrils are doing. So I do not pretend it is anything other than a very conscious decision that I slither myself partially free of my flesh and start coiling imperceptibly around Zalrenza, the length of my soul self easily extending across a distance that doubles the range of my prior human form. I fill the room, several dozen tendrils emerging to create a web of death, one that isn't quite touching anyone but is absolutely poised to strike at any time. Penelope does her best not to smirk. She's the only one currently casting the spell to see me. This will be a lesson for you too, Malrosa, Naga says, pretending to ignore Penelope and focus on me. If you're going to dabble with other species, you need to understand that their actions and words will reflect on you. No, I tell her. No lessons. I'm pretty sure you retired from being my teacher, and every word you've just said has made me lose a reason to regret that. She takes a sharp breath, recoiling like I just slapped her. I get into position on the court, lowering my body as a silent signal that I'm ready for everyone to shut up and start the match. Malrosa, Venetila begins warningly, but I cut her off. Come on, mighty queens of Liriope, I challenge. Show us savages what you can do. Penelope stalks forwards, taking the center position, closest to the ball. I flank slightly behind her, and a very nervous Tala mirrors me. The queens regard one another for a moment before somewhat angrily approaching and positioning themselves in kind, Zalrenza across from me, Nagatilka across from Penelope, and Venetila somewhat awkwardly facing off against Tala, the two of them giving each other sympathetic and mildly embarrassed looks. Let's try to have a good, clean match, all right? Queen Venetila announces. Just summon the damn balls, Naga grumbles. Venetila sighs, giving her partner a concerned look before looking towards the rest of us. Counting down from 3, she says. Ready? Ready, Penelope says for our team, just to piss them off a little more. I squeeze her shoulder lightly and she smiles. The countdown begins, and then the game is afoot. On 0, Penelope and I both burst forward, crossing each other up so that I go after Naga while she rushes down Zalrenza. This is not some kind of master strategy or anything, we've just collectively agreed on whose shit we want to kick in. Unfortunately, running directly at somebody is not exactly good football strategy. This is a game about magic, after all. Or at least, it's supposed to be. There are 2 balls in this game, the normal amount for any match with team sizes of 3 or above. The extra ball to keep track of offsets the insane amount of control a single queen can exert over a single ball and prevents matches from merely being a tug-of-war over who can cast the strongest motion arts. Being able to cast strong motion arts does still matter, though, and despite my prodigious tentacle range, the strength of my spells is still gated by my mana tunnel throughput, not my soul size. The only person in the room I can match for raw power is Tala. All of the queens, as well as Penelope, outperform me in terms of raw strength. Both balls lift high into the air and launch towards our hoop before our team can do much of anything. At which point Penelope leaps up alongside them, spins her body around and thwacks one of the balls with her tail hard enough to completely negate the momentum applied to it by Zalrenza. You brute! The young queen snaps, but Penelope just chuckles and fends off the next attempt to launch the ball at our goal with a backhanded slap. I, meanwhile, focus on the ball under Naga's control, redirecting it with subtle nudges so it never actually makes it to the goal like she wants it to. I'm playing defense rather than offense today, because what I lack in raw power I make up for in unparalleled casting speed. I can just cross my arms and smirk as I form myself into spell after spell after spell with nothing but a twist of will, pulling my ocean into the world and shaping it into whatever I need. Naga, meanwhile, has to dance the art every time she wants to cast, stealing the essence of the one below all and twisting it to her purposes. I can hold her off as long as I want, unless she gets a bit more creative with her tactics. Knowing her, she'll be doing that shortly. Hopefully Penelope will have scored by then. That's the point of this, after all. To give Penelope a place to shine, a place to dominate. For her to take the magical education I've been giving her for months which, while I admit I'm maybe not a great teacher, has still been giving her the baseline for a much more powerful and much more robust casting system that she has voraciously invested herself in learning. Queens are powerful, but we're generally born powerful, inheriting a baseline of knowledge from the information given to us at birth and acquiring the practical skills to use it, along with advancements deemed too dangerous for children, as we grow and learn and live as princesses. Our strength is hereditary, fought and claimed by the progenitor and given to us as gifts. Most of us are not researchers, we just take what we're given and use it to completely overwhelm basically everyone else because we can. And why would we need more power and knowledge than that if it doesn't inherently interest us? It interests Penelope, though. She's a genius, way smarter than your average queen. We just need to get her in a situation where they can't deny that. Where they have to face the fact that she's a person. I don't know a better way to get people to listen than a show of force, though I wish I did. I bet Elisaveta could come up with something insightful to say, and Lark could just act cute until everyone starts acknowledging her personhood out of pity. I can't, though. I only know how to fight. It's so fucking hard to believe in the idea that I can succeed at anything else. This is a game of magical superiority. Zalrenza shrieks in frustration. Yes, and I'm demonstrating my superiority at life arts, Penelope says patiently as she tail slaps the ball towards the goal, Venetila barely managing to pull their team's hoop away in time. Since my body is apparently all I need to deal with you, perhaps you should look into enhancing your own? The progenitor already designed the perfect form, you disgusting lizard. She shouts back, and then the air flash freezes in a massive column around Penelope, from an anchor on the ground all the way up over and around her body and head. Only her wings and tail emerge from the solidified air. It's an impressive spell, powerful and deadly far beyond what I thought Zalrenza was capable of. How did she? Asked. That's why Naga hasn't been casting anything more complicated than basic motion arts. She and Zalrenza have been casting together. Did she and Zalrenza just try to murder my girlfriend? A spell like that could murder a queen if it went wrong. They'd have gotten away with it, too, now that I think about it. Just an accident during a game against someone who isn't really real. It's shocking, honestly. Zalrenza, I expected this from. But Naga. I thought she loved me. I look into her soul and recoil away a bit, terrified to find that she does. Why would she do this to someone I obviously care about? I mean, it's not like Penelope is more than slightly inconvenienced, but still. There's no way they knew that. It's kind of weird that we aren't angrier about this, don't you think? Yeah, that's a surprise. Maybe it's because I didn't feel any murderous intent from the two queens, so it's hard for me to convince myself they actually wanted her dead. They wouldn't have minded if she died, though, which I should definitely be livid about. Oh well. I'm sure Penelope can be pissed off enough for everyone. My girlfriend teleports directly in front of Zalrenza and backhands her across the face, which she was happy to learn is actually a perfectly legal maneuver in hoopball. She's not happy right now, though. Her scales are a deep crimson, a furious anger permeating her body and soul. Penelope really hates it when people cast thermomancy on her, and she especially hates it when they have the audacity to think it will actually work. Perfect form? She sneers. Perfect form? You ignorant, indoctrinated, ignoble. Do you have any idea what that even means? Do you understand even the most basic fucking principles of the magic that was used to create you? This time, when her tail lashes out, it's not to catch the ball. I have to do that, but instead to wrap Zalrenza up in a manner not at all like how Tyler was playfully bound up before the game. No, this is a deliberate and ruthless restraining, her arms locked down with crushing weight and her fingers tied up with tendrils without care for how many might consequently break. Go ahead, you arrogant buffoon, Penelope growls. Free yourself with that perfect form of yours. Oh, what's that? You can't? I can overpower you with a single limb. Goodness, I wonder why that could possibly be the case. There's a cracking sound and Zalrenza cries out in pain, Naga immediately taking her attention off the ball and lashing out at my girlfriend. Not that I'll let her, of course. Mana blooms out from my tentacles, obliterating the spell she tries to cast the moment it leaves her soul. Why you dare declare yourself the progenitor's superior? Zalrenza hisses. No, you idiot. Penelope roars, shaking her. She could make you as strong as me. She could make herself as strong as me. But she doesn't. Why do you think that is? Do you even have a single original thought in that pathetic head of yours? Aye. Food. It's because of food. Maintaining a body with this much muscle density requires energy and nutrition values far in excess of what Liriope allocates for queens. So you are weak on purpose because there's no need for this sort of muscle mass on a self-entitled idiot who sits around all day and acts superior for fun. The most basic fucking idea that anyone dabbling in this sort of transformative biomancy knows is that there is no such thing as a perfect form, there are only optimizations and trade-offs, and the fact that a being with such highly advanced ancestral knowledge could possibly be ignorant of this baffles me beyond description. I can't possibly believe that. That's a point, Venetila announces, calmly but loudly. What? I ask, peeling my eyes off Naga for a moment. I just scored a point, Queen Venetila says. While you two were distracted, I got through to Larnaca's defense. You know. In this friendly game of hoopball we're playing? So drop Queen Zalrenza and reset position. Penelope makes a disappointed tisk and lightly tosses Zalrenza away, the queen trying and failing to catch her momentum with a broken wing. She stumbles when she hits the ground, wincing in pain. Fucking savage, she growls under her breath, Naga rushing up to catch her before she can fall. Let's take 5 for a healing break too, Venetila suggests. All right? She's staring directly at Penelope when she says that, so Penelope nods back. Of course, she agrees, her scales turning white. Venetila signals agreement and heads over to check on her teammates. Hesitantly, Penelope, Tyler and I group up to do the same. Sorry guys, Tyler mumbles. I couldn't hold her off. It's fine, I assure her. That one was our bad. We didn't coordinate with you. I think we just backslid a little, Vita, Penelope says hesitantly. I blink, caught off guard a little. Because of the lack of coordination? I ask. No, because we invited people to a game with the explicit intention of torturing them as much as possible, she says. Oh. Right. Backsliding into being horrible people. But, I mean, you can't say Zalrenza doesn't deserve it, I hedge. I'm pretty sure she just tried to kill you. Well, yes, but, you know, alcohol at parties? Should still be avoided by a recovering alcoholic, I sigh, finishing a quote from Yelisaveta. Okay, fine. Sorry. I should have pulled you back, not encouraged you. Now we're in a problematic situation, diplomacy-wise, Penelope says. I'm fine with writing off Zalrenza as a lost cause, but Queen Venetila seems nice enough and we just... Well, even if I get the impression she doesn't approve of Queen Nagatilka's position, you did say they were lovers, didn't you? They are, I confirm. So yeah, we have to assume she'll side with Naga, especially if we act like total assholes. Why can't we just establish dominance and be done with it? Well, I think we could, especially if you stopped holding back. But getting furious at them is just going to reinforce their negative stereotypes of us, and yes, I know I was the one who just did that, but, well, that's part of why it needs to be said. I'm really not ready for this sort of thing yet, Vita. I'm sorry. Is everything okay? Tyler asks hesitantly. I'm a little lost. And things got kinda scary back there. Apologies, Princess Larnaca, Penelope says. We should have nipped this plan in the bud long before dragging you into it. I mean, yeah, it was a pretty stupid idea, she agrees. Zoe, Maybe you should see if Tal wants to come out? Penelope suggests. She might handle this situation more elegantly. I can try, I shrug. Tal, you in here? Who? Tala asks, and wow, I normally think of them in different languages, so I just realized Tal is an anagram of Tala. I can't tell if that's confusing or cute as fuck. Cute as fuck, Tal decides. Hello. Oh, hey other me. You wanna handle some social stuff? Not all that much more than you do, but let's see if we can induce a switch anyway. It'll be as finicky as usual, I'm sure. Well, let's see if we can continue the game in a little more of a level-headed fashion, then, Penelope declares. If the end of the game is fun, they're more likely to forgive the beginning. I nod, retracting my tentacles into my body again. No overwhelming them by just breaking all their spells, in that case. They'd hate that. Have Tala focus on Queen Zalrenza as well, Tal suggests. Less bad blood there, and it'll let Zalrenza win more. Penelope, you handle Venetila, I say. She'll probably enjoy getting a little physical with you. I'll keep handling Naga, so you head to Zalrenza's side, Tala. Okay, she agrees. That makes sense. Good. We break up and return to the center of the field, silently indicating we're ready to continue. The queens do the same, Zalrenza flexing her previously broken wing and glowering furiously at us. I've got a proposition, Queen Venetila announces. I feel like last round got a little too heated and skirted a little too close to illegal maneuvers, so I want to have us collectively agree to tone down the power level here. Smaller spell workings, no team casting, and no injury level force. Deal? Deal, I agree immediately. Good, Venetila says, taking the middle. Penelope lines up across from her and we get in our altered starting positions. Since Vina got the last point, it's my turn to count down to game start. I do so, and the game begins again. Things go better this time. Penelope uses her impressive multitasking ability to manage the goal with her spells while providing a substantial physical obstacle to the opposing players. Tala harasses Zalrenza, repairing some of the woman's bruised ego by simply not being as good of a hoopball player as Zalrenza is. It isn't enough to offset my oppressive offense, though. I stay quiet and keep the pressure on the balls, the reduced spell power rules working to my advantage as my unmatched casting speed allows me to constantly redirect enemy assaults and keep pressure on their goalie, Naga. We score the next point. Zalrenza scores next, then Venetila, but then I get 3 goals in a row. The game continues with that back and forth, with me spending most of my time standing still and looking my former combat instructor in the eyes. I'm disappointed in her for how she treats Penelope, though I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I also just want to beat her on general principles, to prove to her that my unofficial title of War Princess is earned, and it's because of Vita, not in spite of her. We've become something more together. We do, ultimately, win the game, albeit by only a single point. Things went down to the wire there, and the final goal was accompanied by quite a few cheers and groans. I, unfortunately, can't bring myself to be too excited about it all. Penelope's right. We kind of fucked this all up from the start. I think Venetila earned some healthy respect for her, but the other two? No way. We could have maybe gotten Naga on our side, but now? I don't even know what to say to her. She's approaching, though, so I guess I have to think of something fast. Good game, Queen Nagatilka says. Yeah, I agree. Good game. There's a pause. Silence stretches awkwardly, but I'm too lost to know how to break it. Naga manages to find some words, though. Seeing you grow up so fast terrifies me, she says softly. Because the person you're becoming doesn't seem to have much to do with who you were. My chest clenches and the silence returns as I try to think about how to answer that. A human I care about once told me that if you obsess over certain aspects of someone, you'll end up missing everything else about them, I say slowly. If you don't like someone, you'll find plenty of reasons to continue not liking them. If you love someone, you'll ignore most of their negative attributes. I think if you're scared of me not being Malrosa, it just means you're only seeing the half of me you're scared of. I'm still me, Naga. I'm more than that, too, but I'm still me. She thinks about that for a moment, then signals agreement. I suppose, she admits slowly, that humans might have some wisdom between them after all. She walks off after that, standing next to Queen Venetilla and waiting silently as her partner talks animatedly with Penelope, probably about either biomancy or sports. I just sigh, tired and drained from the social interaction and regret. I'm so out of it that it startles the crap out of me when I feel a prod in my ocean, a single point of burnt mana that indicates Nora wants to speak. I close the hexes of my eyes, take a deep breath, and focus on the other world, shaping myself into a greeting. Vita. Wonderful to see you, Nora says pleasantly, though she feels kind of stressed. Frustrated? Harried? It's good to hear from you as well, I answer. Is something the matter? Oh. Straight to the point, haha. Are you busy, dear sister? Not super busy, I admit. You just seem uncharacteristically worried. Can I help? Oh. Really, you ask? Well, I appreciate that, but no, you can't help. I'm getting your attention to warn you, actually. Oh shit. I do not like the sound of that. I don't want to deal with anything that's got Nora spooked. What's happening? I ask. What should I do? Well, if you're not home in your little city right now, you'll definitely want to head back in the next 16 and a half hours or so? She hedges. Just to keep the place safe. Okay, I'll do that, I confirm, panic rising inside me. What's happening, though? Big Brother is hungry, dearest, Nora warns. There's going to be a skybreak,